WWE 2K Showcase the Bloodlines Dynasty is the new game mode that's appearing in WWE 2K25. Showcase is receiving several great upgrades this year and lots of new characters and arenas. And 2K's just dropped a new Showcase trailer and Ringside Report explaining a lot of what's new in the mode and what you're going to experience when you pick up the game in early March. So 2K's dropped a new Showcase trailer. Let's have a look at some of the secrets and little Easter eggs that are hidden in there and see what we can pick out of the Ringside Report. This is your WWE 2K25 news update. So the first shot we have here is, well, actually the first shot really is Roman Reigns standing in the ring doing the taunt, but I didn't want to cover that because it's a little bit boring. But we have another shot of Yokozuna hitting Hogan with a leg drop in the retro King of the Ring arena. This is part of the Showcase mode. Then we get another shot of Yokozuna hitting a taunt in the middle of the ring. This is pretty unassuming, right? This isn't really news per se, but what this does highlight is the new taunt camera. I don't know if you guys have heard of this already, but in the game, you now have a thing called the taunt camera. You can access this through the presentation options in the options menu. But basically, when your player character taunts, or I think when the other character taunts as well, the camera will actually pan in close to them. And apparently, the more that you do it depends on like how close the camera gets, and you can also adjust like the frequency of how often it happens. But yeah, this is really cool. Actually, it's a really nice little feature that, you know, I wouldn't have even thought of, but the fact that the camera can actually zoom in when the character's taunting, I think adds a little bit of that dynamic camera, the camera cuts that you would see in real WWE. We get our first look at High Chief Peter Maivia. He's a brand new character to the 2K series. In fact, WWE games in general, I don't think he's ever been in a WWE game. I've seen some people say this is in the modern day arena, but I actually think it's in the WWE Live like house show arena, just because of the sidebar. There's like lights on that truss thing, and I think that's just part of the house show stage that is in the game already. As a minor thing, if you really like stages like I do, it looks like this year they've added a ramp to this arena that didn't exist in the last year's game, so there has been some changes to the WWE Live arena by the looks of it, even if it is just a ramp. We get a look at Afa and Sika, the Wild Samoans. We've seen them already in some gameplay clips. The media day at the Royal Rumble had a dream match between the Wild Samoans here against the Dudley Boys in a tag team table match at day one. What I find most interesting about this specific shot is the confirmation that WrestleMania 9 returns, because I absolutely love that arena. I've loved it in previous WWE games, and I'm so glad that it's actually returning here. It has been in the other 2K games. You can kind of create an arena, but the fact that it's actually here as a real arena, I just think adds so much to the arena choice. Here we have confirmation of the Money in the Bank 6-man tag match, where it was Jacob, Tama, and Solo against, was it Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton, I think. So yeah, pretty cool. I think this happened in Canada, if I'm not wrong. So I'm just glad that this made it into the game. It's your traditional Money in the Bank arena. Not really much to say, I just think it's cool that we're getting confirmation of new arenas. We get another look at the retro models for Jimmy and Jey Uso. This is their 2017 model. I don't know if this arena specifically is the Hell in a Cell one. I don't think so with the blue ropes, but yeah, every time we've seen them in the other trailers, they've been holding those old blue horrible tag team titles that I hate. But they look great models. I'm glad that they're in there as an option for people. Now Xavier Woods confirmed it on Up Up Down Down, but we get our first look at 3-minute warning. Rosie and Jamal, 3-minute warning. Rosie is actually Umaga, so I guess Umaga actually has like 2 character models in this game. I wasn't really watching wrestling back when these guys were around, like back in the kind of early 2000s. We stopped watching around about 2001, just around about the WCW acquisition. We just stopped watching, it wasn't interesting, and I think my family weren't making enough money to justify having the WWE package at the time. It was on cable TV, so it was a lot of money to watch WWE weekly at that time, so I didn't really get a chance to watch them. But when I came back to wrestling in kind of 2006 and 7, I heard so much about them, and seeing Umaga with his feud against John Cena, I heard so much about them. I've seen their match, I think it was at Survivor Series, I think they faced the Hardys or something. Yeah, like they just seem like a really cool team. I'm surprised it didn't take off as it should have. So the Bloodline Dynasty mode does cover the entire Bloodline family. Part of that family is Nia Jax. So here we get a shot of her entering the ring, presumably for her Crown Jewel match against Lyra Valkyria last year. We get our first look at Rikishi in this game. Now Rikishi is wearing this big you know, as I was like going to describe this, it kind of looks like Homer Simpson wearing the big dress thing. I don't know if you. I'll put a picture on screen. He looks a lot like Homer Simpson. I'm sorry if that's offensive. He just does. But this is the thing that he's wearing over himself is part of his showcase match with Stone Cold Steve Austin. And the arena behind him I thought looked really weird, and I still think it looks really weird. But that is actually the No Mercy arena that the showcase mode takes place in. We get a new look at a younger Naomi model. This is at one of the Super Showdown arenas, I think they're called. I can't remember if that is what they're called, but it's one of the Saudi Arabia shows. This show in particular I always thought was so weird because the stage was basically just a giant rectangle with lots of lights on it. And the arena, as you can see there on the right, there was no top of the... It was literally in like a car park. It was like the weirdest thing ever. It was an interesting visual, I suppose, but... it wasn't what I was used to seeing in these Saudi Arabia shows, which these big grand arenas. This one was essentially in like a parking lot with, you know, a giant LED board, which doesn't scream quality or premium to me, but you know, that is what it is. We get another look at Roman Reigns entering presumably for his Royal Rumble match against Seth Rollins. We're going to get into this more in the Ringside Report section of the video, but there are 3 chapters to Bloodlines Dynasty this year. So there is the Relive, which is kind of completing those historic objectives and recreating the match as it was. Then there is the Creating History, which I think is changing the outcome of the matches to fit whatever or like the other people win or whatever the storyline may have been at that time. And then there's another one that I've completely forgotten the name of, which basically allows us to put dream matches together where we see people like the Wild Samoans go against the Dudley Boys, and I'm sure there's many others. We'll see in the Ringside Report part, there's match listings there. This trailer is intercut with footage, real life footage, and with the real life footage we can see that there are faces blurred out. It is worth noting that these videos only play between matches this year, so they're part of like these Paul Heyman introductions where Paul Heyman introduces the match you're about to play, gives you the story and the lore leading into the match. That's where this real life footage sits. It no longer interrupts the match with the slingshot tech. That's completely stripped out now. The matches play out with real-time cutscenes generated in the game, and it looks a lot better, and hopefully we can just move on from these blurry faces. If the blur and stuff is all, the video editing is all part of the introduction videos, I'm personally fine with that. I can work around that. But when you were interrupting the match before with all this blurry footage, I just didn't see the point. So anyway, moving on. One of the most surprising additions this year is the inclusion of a retro Raw arena that seems to take place in the Manhattan Center. Now, we've never actually seen that before, but I just think this is such a cool inclusion. I'm so glad that it's in there because I would rather use this kind of arena than, say, well, I really like the Attitude Era arenas actually, but sometimes they put on like the really early Raw arenas, and yeah, I never really use them. But I think something like this that has a different environment, the different feel, this is probably something that I will be using quite a bit. Although 2K, I do have to point out, you're using the wrong font on the Raw banners there. The Raw flags that are on the building there, they've got the Raw font from like 2017 or something. Like that's not the Raw font that they used at the time. Although interestingly, there is a shot coming up that has the correct lettering on the stage. This is our first look at is it Tama? It's either Tama or Haku. I can't remember, but they are they the Islanders? It's a little beyond my time, bear with me, I'm sorry, but we'll get into it in the roster reveal, I guess. But yes, this is one of the Islanders, if that's what they're called. It's either Haku or Tama. But yeah, like, they were not lying when they said every member of the Bloodline is in this game. Like, it feels like everyone, barring like Zilla Fatu, is in this game. I'm curious to see if this is part of the Bloodline showcase, or if this is part of like is this part of the recreate history or the rewrite history thing, because I don't remember them facing the Steiners at WrestleMania 9, but then when I think of WrestleMania 9, that's not a match that jumps out to me. So it may well be a match. We'll get confirmation in the Ringside Report part, I suppose. Here we have confirmation that Stone Cold Steve Austin has a new costume this year. I assume this is based on his outfit that he wore at No Mercy 2000, but I don't think I've seen No Mercy 2000, so this must be what Austin was wearing at that time. I don't know. Here we get more shots of that Money in the Bank 6-man tag that I was talking about. We get our first look at Randy Orton in the previous shot, which is right here. Here is Randy Orton in that shot. I don't know why I didn't say the previous bit in this bit, but anyway. Here is Randy Orton in 2K25. We also get our first look at Kevin Owens wearing his red t-shirt and red boots. I don't know if these are event accurate. Someone in the comments I'm sure will tell me, but yeah, very cool to see Orton and Kevin. You know, there's a little bit of wrestling logic here that's been missed because it looks like Kevin, Randy, and Cody are on the bottom right corner, whereas here's a wrestling secret for you. The face team is always on the top left so that they can be shown on camera. So I don't know if on the actual Money in the Bank broadcast, I don't know if like Kevin and Orton were in the bottom right corner, but traditionally, because the faces struggle in these tag team matches, you put them on the top left so that they can show their struggle to the camera, whereas the heels appear on the bottom right. That's some wrestling secret for you, but it has no bearing on this match whatsoever. I just don't know if maybe they're trying to be event accurate or not. We get another look at Jamal and Rose. Is it Rosie? Oh no, I'm like doubting myself. No, it is Jamal and Rosie during their entrance animation here. 3-minute warning. The one thing I always think are interesting about these retro, I don't know what to call them, Legends entrances, right, is the graphics are never usually that good. But they look pretty cool. I don't know if this is part of their actual like Titantron at that time, but I like what they've done here. It's not just a generic black screen or the horrible blue Hall of Fame one that they used before. This is actually like a design graphic, which I quite appreciate, so thank you for that. We get our first look at AOP with, or I should say Authors of Pain with Paul Ellering. Paul Ellering is wearing a Final Testament t-shirt, so I guess these guys are branded for the Final Testament. I guess the elephant in the room is that all three have since been released by WWE. They were released like just a few weeks ago, but they're still part of the marketing for the game, which is pretty cool. I appreciate the fact that they're still in the game even though being released. Again, this always comes down to like licensing agreements. They agreed to be in the game probably like a year ago. Scanned, modeled, animation work, the whole shebang. Absolutely no doubts in my mind that they would be part of the game. It's very rare for people to be taken out of the game. The only recent example I think of somebody being taken out of the game was Bray Wyatt was taken out of 2K22 for some reason. I can't remember why, but he was like let go, and he was going to be part of the career mode, and yeah, they took him out. I think it was a executive decision from WWE to remove him from the game and take him out of the story mode, but I don't really see those things happening nowadays, so yeah. I'm rambling. It's good to see AOP in the game. There's probably quite a few people now that have been released that are in the game, and yeah, at least they will still be in the game when the game actually does come out. Although in saying that, I guess the next screen here proves that there is a dream match between 3-minute warning and AOP, which by the way would be an absolute banger match. So kudos to the Showcase devs for putting a match like that together, because honestly I think that would slap in real life. We get another look of the Raw at the Manhattan Center Arena. This is kind of just going back to what I was saying earlier, that the Raw lettering on the stage is the correct letters, like the correct font, but the banner above the stage has the Raw font, the wrong font, I should say, from like 2017. So things like this can typically be fixed before release. Hopefully it could already be fixed for all we know. This could be like really old footage, but we'll have to wait and see. This is my official bug submission 2K. You've put the wrong font on the flags, please fix. But we'll have to wait and see if they actually do that or not. Also, this is really nitpicky, but I have 3D modeled that arena before, and the letters are always weird because the W is huge and the R and the A aren't. But I think what WWE did, and what I did for my 3D models, was that I actually stretched the R and the A to be slightly thicker, and it did make it look a bit better. So it does look a little bit weird here with the R and the A being skinny and the W being thick. That's just how the font is. So perhaps they could also just adjust the scaling of that a little bit. But hey, that could be what it looked like at the time and I've just forgotten. I just know from experience that modeling those raw letters can be really, really tricky. Oh, and one more thing, actually. This is confirmation that we're getting Hunter Hearst Helmsley, which is cool. We've had that model in the game before, so I guess it's not anything crazy new. But what is crazy new is confirmation that we're getting Rocky Maivia, which I think is a first for the 2K games. The last time we will have seen Rocky Maivia in a video game would have been something like Attitude or Warzone or something, like something really early on. But really cool to see Rocky Maivia here. If you do get the Bloodline edition, you also get access to an exclusive My Faction Persona card that unlocks the Nation of Domination Rock, which will be the one that's just after this. But yeah, this is apparently a really monumental match for The Rock because it's his first singles title win. He wins the Intercontinental Championship from Triple H here, and it basically sets The Rock on that trajectory. Although it didn't turn out very well for him because he did end up getting those Die Rocky Die chants and then he turns heel. But hey, that's life, that's history right there. We get a bunch of really quick flashes from other matches, but I don't want to highlight them all because we've already covered them in other videos and there's nothing new in them. But in this shot in particular, we can see Tamina coming off the top rope, splashing on Becky Lynch. We can also see an older model for Becky, Natalia, I think that's Charlotte Flair on the ground there. I don't know who that is on the right. It could be Carmella. And one of the things I want to point out is that there are ladders in the ring, but the ladders look like they're split in half. I don't know if that is a bug or if that's maybe like a new mechanic that ladders can now be split and broken, or maybe it's part of the 2K showcase. Maybe there's like a cutscene that plays out where the ladder gets split. I can't remember, but I think this is part of a Money in the Bank ladder match from that year. I did see some people online talking about James Ellsworth, so I'm assuming that this is the Money in the Bank match where James Ellsworth wins the women's Money in the Bank match and gives the briefcase to Carmella. But yeah, I can't remember the details. So yeah, once we go to the Ringside Report, we'll go into this in more detail. I believe this is another shot of the Uso splash happening in the 2017 Hell in a Cell match between the Usos and the New Day, which we spoke about a little bit already, but this is the full, well, it's not a full shot of the stage, but it's a shot of the stage so you can see how that looks like, the 2017 weekly stage. But most importantly, you can see that there is body damage on, I assume that's Jimmy Uso, and yeah, you can see like the handprint forming on his chest, which is a really cool detail this year. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that new body damage system. Here is another match. I don't imagine this is from the 2K showcase because Bash in Berlin did not have Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga versus Cody Rhodes, but the main thing I just want to highlight is that the Bash in Berlin arena is in the game this year. I don't know why it wouldn't be featured in the game, but I just think it's just good to highlight that arena is there. It'll be an option, and I hope it looks good. Also, a little bit disappointing for some, as the trailer closes out here, we get a shot of Roman Reigns on the turnbuckle rope, on the ropes on the turnbuckle corner, lifting his arms, doing that animation, which is his big dog ending animation that he's had for years now. So even though the tribal chief and he's got his ones up to the sky and all that, this seems to confirm that there is still no new ending or match win animation for Roman, which is a shame. So I hope that, you know, it's maybe getting a bit late into the tribal chief storyline to do it now, but I hope one day they can figure out maybe how to add a more timely ending animation for Roman, especially since he is like the cover star and like the main guy in WWE. You'd think he'd get a little bit more attention. And that's it for the 2K Showcase Bloodlines Dynasty Showcase trailer. What a mouthful. That's it for the Showcase trailer that they've released. But alongside this trailer, they did release a Ringside Report blog on their website that has some more details that we can dive into right now. Welcome to the Bloodline Dynasty. So, with Roman Reigns gracing the cover of WWE 2K25 and the two feuding factions of the Bloodline front and center in the Bloodline edition, there's no better way than to honor the Bloodline's family legacy than this year's showcase, aptly called the Bloodlines Dynasty. So this is being promoted as a first of its kind documentary style look at the legendary family hosted by the wise man Paul Heyman. So even though it is like a traditional showcase mode and it has a narrative and you've got the dream matches in there, it's almost like a documentary where Paul Heyman is going to give you the lore and the context of the matches and you're going to play them out, but there is an overarching storyline thread going through the whole story apparently. So presentation and gameplay, most importantly, how do you play the mode? So 2K Showcase will probably play out mostly the same from what we've seen already in the Up Up Down Down and the Royal Rumble press event preview. So you play the matches, you have the objectives, and you complete the objectives, you unlock things for the main game, and you get rewards within the match in the form of cutscenes and dialogue. So the most important thing for me as a creator, and I guess for people who enjoy actually playing the game, they have removed the slingshot tech from the game, which means that it no longer cuts from gameplay and goes into this horribly edited piece of real life footage that shows the match progressing. It takes the control completely away from you, and then at some random point in the fight you'll go back to gameplay and then it'll just seamlessly go back into gameplay. And look, technically it was great. It was a totally fine addition to the game at the time, but as time's gone on, it's just so restrictive in how the way that the mode plays. Like, it takes the control completely away from you, it takes you right out of the match, and some of the cutscenes could be very long, and you'd literally go to the fridge, you grab a snack, you come back and it's still on, and then when you're actually watching the footage, it's all blurry because they blur out all the WWF logos, they blur out people that they don't have access to, like licensing, so they have to blur out like referees. In the retro footage, they have to blur out like problematic people who, you know, no longer work for the company. It was just causing them too many problems, and things like, you know, that Money in the Bank match we were talking about, they don't have James Ellsworth this year, so why show real life footage that has James Ellsworth winning the match? You're just gonna have to blur him out. Or what's the point of having real life footage with Vince McMahon in it? He's not in the game, you don't have the rights to him, so you're gonna have to blur him out. It just seems silly. So this year they've reanimated all the cuts, or not reanimated, they have now animated the cutscenes so that they play within the game. Unfortunately, it still takes the control away from you. There's no quick time events like there were in the previous showcase modes, but again, this is iterative. This is something they can add in future years, but in this specific game there are no quick time events. It just goes into a real-time cutscene in the game, and then at some point you'll go back to playing the game. But one of the good things that they have added to keep you playing the game during these cutscenes is full entrances and full commentary for each match as well. So previously when you were playing 2K Showcase mode, you would just have this like horribly themed music that played over the match, and it really had nothing to do with the match, and it was usually copyrighted as well, which made creators like me really struggle to cover the game mode, because every time that you posted anything online from it, you would just get copyright striked. This year they've done away with that. You now have full entrances, which is great, because in showcase mode previously you didn't have any entrances, and commentary is now part of the match. So you'll have your generic commentary that is in, you know, every other game mode for exhibitions and stuff, but you also have unique commentary for the match that goes through the storyline and, you know, whatever the cutscene is playing at that time. Here is also a screenshot from Hunter Hearst Helmsley with the retro WWE Intercontinental Champion the championship belt at the time, looking really great actually. And it says here that, as has been the case for previous showcases, completing the objectives within the game mode will give you an unlockable reward that you can take into the main game. You can use in GM mode, you can use it in exhibition, universe, whatever. One of the key new features for showcase mode this year is the new objective, or the new timed objectives. So they are optional objectives within a match, but I presume they will still give you rewards, and they are timed objectives, so you have to I think I saw one in the press event that said you had to hit a move 3 times within 30 seconds or something. And yeah, it just gives you that urgency. You have to complete something within a timer. So typically, if a game developer wants you to feel something, they add a timer. So that's a bit of a game developer meme. Okay, so going through the match list for this year's showcase, they've got the unique opportunity to highlight the Bloodline family from different eras, which is why they've been able to get people like High Chief Peter Maivia, the Wild Samoans, 3 Minute Warning, and the Islanders, Tama and Haku, so I was correct, into the game. Yeah, so the 3 categories I was talking about are Relive History, Change History, and Create History. So Relive History allows fans to retrace the steps that the legendary superstars took on their path to victory. So that is like completing the historic matches as they were with the objectives, and you get rewarded by recreating the match as it actually happened. Change History will give you the chance to play on the other side, so perhaps you can change the outcome of the match, or if the character had lost, like Roman Reigns getting disqualified in that Seth Rollins match, in this Change History mode, you can actually play as if Roman had not got himself disqualified and won the match. And Create History will give you the chance to play in dream matches that did not actually happen in real life, and honestly, they are probably the more exciting matches for me. So moving on to the match list, we have Relive History, the Yokozuna with Mr. Fuji, Hulk Hogan, King of the Ring 1993. We've seen quite a bit of that in footage. Rocky Maivia versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley at Thursday Raw Thursday in 1997. Very cool. I really love that arena. It's not one that we see very often. The Usos versus New Day with Big E and Hell in a Cell 17. I'm interested to see how they do the Big E thing, because I didn't think you could do managers in a Hell in a Cell match. So if that actually does have Big E, that could indicate a new feature for Hell in a Cell matches. An interesting match that we weren't aware of and haven't been shown yet is Solo Sikoa versus Carmelo Hayes with Trick Williams on NXT 2.0 in 2022. So I guess by proxy they have confirmed that NXT 2.0 is in the game, and we're going to be getting retro versions of Solo Sikoa and Carmelo Hayes. Also, calling 2022 retro just really fucks with me. There's also a new render from the Saudi arena where Lyra Valkyria is making her entrance in her full bodysuit that she had to wear in Saudi. Change History has the Head Shrinkers versus Steiner Bros at WrestleMania 9. So that match did happen, but you can play, I guess you can change the outcome of that specific match. Rikishi versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, No Mercy 2000. Again, we spoke about that. That's not a match I'm familiar with, so very cool that we get some little deep cut references in there. Umaga with Armando Estrada versus John Cena at New Year's Revolution. So this is one that's been hotly discussed online because it's a pretty popular match. I think it was when Umaga also took his first loss in WWE, so it's a pretty big match for Umaga's history. We get our first look at Armando Estrada and the New Year's Revolution stage in the screenshot. In a previous trailer, I could not figure out, there was a clip of Umaga in a venue that I could not figure out, and I did say at the time it was probably New Year's Revolution, but I couldn't quite figure it out. And some of the comments had said it is New Year's Revolution, and I went, yeah, but it just looks very different from what I was expecting because the back has those LED boards, and it just looked like a curtain. I don't really understand what's going on there, but in this screenshot you can tell there is like an LED board there, but I guess Umaga's graphics are black, so you just can't see it. So yeah, that was really tripping me up, but this is one of my favorite stages from that time as well, so very, very excited to see how that actually looks in the game. And going back to the Change History, we have Tamina versus Natalya versus Carmella versus Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch, which is Money in the Bank 17. I assume that's a Money in the Bank match. Again, we spoke about that as part of the trailer. Naomi versus Bayley, Super Showdown 20. Apologies, I don't really remember that match, but we did see a clip of that in the trailer. And Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins in Royal Rumble 22. We've seen that one in the press event, and it looks to change the outcome where Roman Reigns does not get himself disqualified in that match. And Create History is the matches that never actually happened and are part of this what if scenario. High Chief Peter Maivia versus George the Animal Steel, 3-minute warning versus AOP with Paul Ellering, the Wild Samoans versus the Dudley Boys, which we've seen at the press event, which is a tables match. Funnily enough, the OG Bloodline versus Solo's Bloodline at War Games. Now, this is under the Create History category, but they couldn't have actually predicted the fact that this did actually happen. This did happen as of last year's Survivor Series, so whoops, I guess. So it's not actually Create History anymore, but yeah, we'll see how the game handles that one. And the Islanders versus the Street Profits. I'm assuming that these will have different match gimmicks as well, and they're just not listing it here because we know that the Wild Samoans versus Dudleys is a tables match, and we can see here that the Bloodline versus Bloodline War Games is here. I'm assuming there might be, not all of them will have gimmicks, but I think some of them will. So they don't really go into detail here, but it does say that completing each match and objectives within those matches, you will be able to unlock over 70 rewards for the main game, which includes things like legends, alternate attires, managers, championships, arenas, and exclusive My Faction cards. This isn't necessarily new, this is how the game has operated for the last couple of years, and yeah, the My Faction cards, you usually get 1 or 2 just for completing the mode, and if you do buy the Deadman Edition or the Season Pass or the Bloodline Edition, you usually gain access to all of the unlockables from the start of the game as well. We don't know this year if that also covers the showcase mode. I know in previous years, when you get the supercharger, I think it's called the supercharger or something, it unlocks everything when you start the game, but it doesn't actually unlock the showcase mode unlockables. You still need to play the showcase mode. So we don't know this year if the Ringside Pass or whatever it's called actually unlocks the showcase items. With that being said, that is us for today. We have covered the new WWE 2K Showcase Bloodlines Dynasty trailer that dropped last week, and we looked at the Ringside Report for some more information. There will be more Ringside Reports coming up in the next few weeks, covering things like My Rise, My GM, Universe, and more. So if you're interested in seeing more WWE 2K25 breakdowns, news, and coverage, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know what your favourite match you're looking forward to in the Bloodlines Dynasty mode is in the comments down below. We'll start our discussion. I hope there's also some secret matches in there that they maybe haven't mentioned, because 2K can be like that and sometimes they throw in a little secret match here and there. But that's going to be us for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a good day, and bye for now.